Hello Achiever, I am in Miami with an awesome guest. He is Mark Joyner, Tech CEO of Simpleology. I'd like you to introduce yourself. What do you do today and who are you?
Well, what did I do today? So right now I'm the CEO of Simpleology. We're a web app that helps people get a lot more done faster. What did I actually do today? If you're asking that, I can answer that question as well.
Yeah.
But I'm somebody of many interests. I've started over 20 different companies. Right now I'm only running one. I've written over a dozen books, as you saw. I used to be a former military officer. I am interested in technology from the standpoint of futurism, not just for running businesses now, but I think that the way technology impacts the world is very, very important, something we need to take very seriously, and that's kind of my primary guiding direction. But I do a lot of other things as well, but those are the things that might be interesting for you.
I would like to talk about this first one. What is your vision about the impact of technology on the future?
Well, going right into the heavy stuff. Okay, good. Well, I would say we are at a point in time where our technology has advanced past our ability to use it intelligently. And we have the potential to destroy the world many times over. But what's even more interesting, or more potentially perilous, and I think quite important for us to examine, is that that technology is getting out into the hands of almost anyone very quickly. So case in point, very recently it was announced that a company put out the plans to be able to do a 3D print of a gun. So 3D printing technology, yeah? Right, and people knew that this was going to happen for a long time. Well, it recently just happened. Now the government is saying, well, we're just going to shut that down. We're not going to allow the company to be able to distribute those plans. But how can the government really do that, right? The government can't. Once information is out there, the information is out there. There's an expression in English, I don't know if you're familiar with it, being a native French speaker, but the genie is out of the bottle, right? So what it means is that there's this genie in this bottle, and once you uncork the bottle and the genie is out.
Yeah, I understand, yeah.
Yeah, you can't put him back in. He's out. He's out of the bottle. And, the tech genie...
It is the Pandora box, maybe.
Say again?
The box of Pandora. Do you know what?
Oh, Pandora's box.
Yeah,
yes.
Pandora's box.
Yeah, it's in a similar sense, right? Once that's opened, right, that knowledge is there, right? So information, once it's out into the ecosystem, you and I were talking about that earlier, it's there. And now that's a great thing, and it's also a potentially dangerous thing. And so my personal take is that we're never going to be able to completely control all of the technology that could potentially wipe everybody out. It's impossible. And if we attempt to control the world in that way, we're destined for failure. So what we have to do is we have to develop technologies that will facilitate the process of taking away man's need to kill other people. So why do people have conflict? They have conflict because their needs are not taken care of. So we need to figure out a way to apply technology to make people happy and content, because there's no other way that we're going to survive over the next 100 years, I would say.
So when you have this vision, how do you use technology in our life? What can I do, for example, with technology when I understand what you are saying?
So how can you help facilitate that process?
Yeah.
That's a really, really good question. I think that there are a lot of ways that people can do it. One is we can use the leverage of our communication technology to get supportive messages out there to people. For example, what you guys are doing. You are wanting to put a positive message into the minds of young kids, right? That's critical, because if we don't have those messages out there, then people aren't going to know that, hey, things aren't really hopeless. I can't actually take control of my own situation in my own life. I can do that. That's a very important thing, because a lot of people go through their lives without understanding that. And if you can flip that switch in someone's head, that's wonderful. And another thing that you can do is you can use that technology in some way that is going to sow the seeds of stability in communities and in families and in individuals. Help them to be self-sufficient.
Cool. And do you think everybody have to do that?
Well, I don't think everybody has to do it. To be successful, maybe we need a lot more people doing it than we have now. Um, I mean, nobody has to do anything. No matter what we do, the universe is going to continue to exist. And if we all blow ourselves up, the earth is going to heal itself and life will probably carry on. The earth has a wonderful way of getting rid of contaminants. If we end up becoming a contaminant for the earth, then the earth will sort itself out, right? We won't matter anymore. But if we want to survive as a species, then I think we certainly need to look at it a little more seriously than we are as a global culture. Yeah.
Yeah. So you are saying that we have to have a vision maybe more than only 1 year, 2 years, but maybe 100 years.
Most certainly, even a few thousand years, because 100 years is like a blink of an eye in the cosmic term of things.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
How can I use technology to succeed now in life, in a business? Do you have ideas about that?
Yeah, well, in fact, Simpleology, or the company I'm building right now, is an application of technology to help people do that. And our idea here is that there are a number of reasons why people don't succeed. And for example, they're not very clear on what it is that they need to do. Right, that's one thing that the software helps people do. They are very distracted. Right, that's another thing the software helps people do. Another one is they get very easily overwhelmed. That's another thing the software helps solve. Right, is solving overwhelm. Right.
And how do you do these things?
That's a really good question. So if you could imagine like this, so here's where somebody is, here's where somebody wants to be, right?
Yes,
the fastest way.
A, point B.
Point A, point B. If you just have this, more or less nebulous idea of success, which could be anything, somebody has to decide what that means for them first of all, because if you don't know what point B is, there's no getting to point B, right? But once you define what that means for you, the easiest way to get there is just a very straight line path. Right?
Yeah.
But there are many, many problems, right? So you've started you've solved the first problem by defining what it is, right? So now well, it's over here. This is where I want to go. But, before you know it, technology is going to get in the way, right? Your Facebook messages are going to be nagging you. You've got text messages coming up that probably aren't going to be supportive of you getting along this path. You've got technology being used in a way to put ideas and messages in your head that will pull you off that path, that will demoralize you, do the opposite of what you're trying to do. How many messages do you think are out there where...
So you are saying that the technologies can serve you or challenge you?
Absolutely. Most certainly. You see this every day, yeah?
Yeah. And how your application help people to find their way, to find their goals?
Well, the key is there are three main components. There's a lot more to it, and we have a training system that we put people through to turn it into a habit, first of all, right? Because, you've used Microsoft Excel before, I imagine, right?
Yeah.
Excel is this wonderful, wonderful application.
Yeah.
But you can't learn that application in one day.
No.
You can't learn all of the possibilities of it. And if you attempted to do that, you would be lost. Doesn't mean it's not a great application, though, right? Even though I'm an Apple fan, I think Excel is a great app, right? So what we do is we have a training system that we take people through that allows them to learn core habits, right? And we use a martial arts metaphor. We start out and we say, we want you to earn your white belt, right? And your white belt consists of you learning three fundamental tools, right? One is a thing we have called the Dreamcatcher, right? And that means that when you've got thoughts, ideas, and to-dos that pop into your mind throughout the day, you need to jot them down and then get back to what it is that you're doing. Reason why this is important is most people, they go, I'm in the middle of writing this book or I'm doing something and I get this great idea, and then you stop working on this one thing over here and then you move over into this other direction. Now maybe that was a good idea, but usually not, right? If you have what we call in America the shiny object syndrome. Have you heard of this?
No.
Shiny, so it's like, imagine somebody with ADD, attention deficit disorder, right?
Yeah.
And then, they see a shiny object and, their attention is caught, right? And then
Yeah,
there's another shiny object and,
Yeah.
so you're like a dog,
Crazy dog, yeah.
Crazy dog, yeah. Well, most people go throughout their days like that crazy dog, right? They're running from place to place, and where do they end up?
Nothing, nowhere.
Yeah, somewhere, but not over here, probably, right? Yeah. So the Dreamcatcher is great because it's like, okay, you're sending the signal to the brain that says, you know what? I'm going to deal with this later. But I know it's very important for me right now to get that out of my brain, to unload it from my RAM, if you will, and to get back to what's important.
Why it's so important to write something?
Well, to write it down?
Yeah, to extract what you have in your head on a paper or or in an application.
Superb question. Okay, and it's a very important one. So there was a study conducted at Princeton around sometime in the 1970s, and there was a report written about this called the magic number 7 plus or minus 2. Right? She's nodding. I think she's heard of it. Yeah. So the study identified that in the human brain there is something akin to RAM in computing, right? So in RAM, you've got this random access memory, the memory that you can actually operate on in the moment. It's right there. This is not stuff that's in the hard storage. It's stuff that's available right now for you to work on. So what they've discovered was that through this test, we believe that the human brain can only operate on, mind you, not just store, but operate on in any given moment 5 to 9 bits of information at any moment. Now this, by the way, is why in the United States phone numbers are 7 digits long, okay? Because we know that somebody can, memorize a 7-digit number. When you go beyond that 7-digit number, it becomes very, very hard for the human brain to memorize. Now, there are people who can do more.
Yeah.
They're statistical outliers, right? And maybe you can train that. But we're talking about the hard-wired limitations of the human brain, right? So when you're sitting down and you're working on something and you get this idea, it could be like, oh man, I've got that bill I've got to pay. Or, maybe I should start a Google AdWords campaign, right? Or, oh, maybe I should, respond to this person who wrote to me and it's bugging you, right? Well, it's bugging you because that's all up in your mental RAM now, right? So, and when you start to go past that upper limit of information that you can store in your brain starts to shut down. It's like when you have a bunch of windows open in your computer, does your computer start to slow down?
Yeah.
Of course, right? Everybody knows this.
I hate that.
I hate it too, right? Yeah, as techno geeks, we're annoyed by that, right? Yeah. I want to have a million windows open. Now, someday, by the way, side note, they've got the steady state in systems, where all the information can be up at once,
Cool.
Yeah. But anyway, the human brain has no such hardware, sadly. So we need to close those windows down one by one until our system is stable again and it actually functions the way a good Mac should, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this, when you write it down, it's like shutting that window down, right? Now all of a sudden you've unloaded it from conscious memory and you can get back to this other thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
So your application help people to extract their idea, that's right?
That's the first part.
It's first step to find your way. Do you have other steps?
Mm-hmm. So in the white belt training, that's the first skill that people get. Now the next skill is this thing we have called Start My Day, right? Now Start My Day is actually a logical process. So you wake up in the morning, and you can do this at night, by the way, too, but we say start my day because everybody can understand that easily, but when you wake up in the morning and you don't have a way of planning your day can go anywhere, right? So if, on the other hand, you use a logical process of saying, where am I going in my life? What is this thing that I have, I'm calling success, where I want to go, right?
Yeah.
How do I actually get there? And, what things are important to me? And you go through all of the possibilities of the things that you could possibly do that day. So we walk you through a logical process where you do the first thing we have called a morning brainstorm, right? Where you just dump everything out of your brain. You wake up in the morning and you're like, all right, what's in my brain right now that I've got to get off my mind? And you dump it, right? And then you go through a process of decision. Now there are other modules in this that you can add later, but that's, as you get better and better at using the system. I don't want to tell you too much now because your brain can't handle it, right?
Yeah.
But the basic part of it is you just make decisions on these things. So when you go through the process of making decisions, you're looking at, hey, where am I going? Also, what is all that stuff that I dumped in my Dreamcatcher yesterday, right? Now I want to actually decide what to do with all that stuff. Okay, so then some of it you might actually do today. Some of it you might delegate to somebody else. Some of it might end up on a calendar somewhere. Some of it might go to, some list, of like maybe this is something I might do someday later, or maybe your friend told you a movie that you wanted to watch, and then you can move it over to a list. We have a part of the system that allows you to categorize and organize information that way as well. And then at the end of that, you get to the third thing, which we call your daily targets list. Now that daily targets list, a lot of people confuse with a to-do list, right? But a to-do list is a very different thing. I think it's maybe the worst way to organize yourself. Because on the same list, you have, take out the trash and solve world peace, right? You might actually take out the trash today, but you're probably not going to solve world peace today, right? So your daily targets list is what are you actually going to do today? Really, really actually going to do. And then once you have that, and then you can remove all of the other distractions from yourself, you'll find that you can compress into a very short period of time a lot more relevant productivity if you organize yourself that way. And that's the beginning of what the software does for you.
Great. I love your application.
Cool.
Where we can find your application?
Simpleology.com.
Cool. And it's available on iPhone, that's right?
Well, we don't actually have an app for it. We used to. But so the way you can access it through your iPhone is we have what we call text messaging to Dreamcatcher, right? Or email to Dreamcatcher. So if you want to send something to your Dreamcatcher, you send yourself a text message through the system. We don't have apps because this is another conversation. We can get into this, but my personal feeling is that mobile, as we see it now, is a outmoded medium. It's going to be gone by maybe 2020, right? We're going to have very, very different way of interacting with mobile technology by then. So we're not investing in apps like that anymore. We're investing in the browser.
Okay, in browser, yeah.
Yeah, the browser, in my opinion, is the operating system of the future.
Yeah, only on everything on the internet, right?
That's right. Well, and everything that you can do with an app, you can do with a web app, right? And one of the beauties of the internet was that it was meant to be platform agnostic, platform independent, right? And it was kind of democratizing.
Yeah, and the only interest of an app is the beauty, and the beauty is only if the connection is higher, you can do a beautiful interface in a browser.
That's right. Well, absolutely, and you can do anything in a browser that you can do with an app. The problem with apps is they're tied to particular operating systems. And if companies see things in that way, if they buy into that, they're always going to be slaves to Apple, they're always going to be slaves to Google, or whoever else runs these different application platforms. But if you invest in the web, and this is why I want every business owner to think in the same way, you take the power back in your own hands as a business owner.
Okay, great. I love that. We were talking about organization. I think organization it's so important when you are an entrepreneur. You have a lot of things to do, a lot of things to think. Do you have some tips, some advices about organization? To be honest with you, I think I have to improve myself about organization. I am very motivated, perseverant, but organization is something that not so easy for me. Do you have some advices to people like me, they are entrepreneur, and how do you organize yourself? It would be great.
That's a great question. Well, it depends on what I'm trying to accomplish, right? And I think any organizational system has to be inherently flexible in that sense. This is one of the problems with organization, and one of the reasons why people are disorganized, because they get these theoretical solutions to situations, and no particular solution is going to fit every situation. So there's no substitute for the human brain being able to creatively adapt to a different situation. So any organizational system as such must be inherently flexible in that sense. So that's the first thing.
Yeah.
So when you figure out where it is that you're trying to go as a company, right? Because I imagine this is in relation to companies as organization, and not just individuals.
It's
both.
My question is especially for an entrepreneur.
An entrepreneur. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you don't know what you're trying to accomplish as an entrepreneur, you're inherently always going to be disorganized. So in the same way that the first thing that we want to accomplish in Simpleology is like, hey, figure out where it is that you're trying to go, and then we can figure out how to get there. You have to do this as a company as well. So we have, in later modules of what we teach in Simpleology, we have, for example, we organize these in what we call habit bombs, right? We teach a collection of habits and then a number of different ways to cellularize that habit, to make that habit actually internalized in your day-to-day behavior, to make it really stick as a habit, right? And one of the later ones is one that we have for business growth, for example. So in business growth, we organize things into 3 different, theoretical areas of improvement in your business. And if you're making improvements in your business and in anything that's outside of those 3 areas, we say it's not relevant, right?
Yeah.
So it's important to have a simplified set of organizational rules in your life to guide you. Because if you don't have those, you're not going to have a way to evaluate things when things get really crazy. So I'll give you a military metaphor, right? Mike Tyson said this, a very, very similar thing to what a lot of military men say. He says, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face, right?
Yeah.
And then when you get punched in the face, well, what happens? Your habits kick in, okay? And if you have a strategic framework to help you simplify things, and you have a set of habits that guide you when everything's going crazy, which as an entrepreneur is every day, right? Then you can be guided properly.
Okay, so you have to build habits, that's right?
Absolutely.
That help you to stay organized and how to react. That's right when things come.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Maybe you have some advices for that question. For example, when I work, I am focused on what I would like to build at the end, when this goal. But there is a lot of way to reach this goal, and I am often tempted to do one thing. And do you think I have only to focus in the first idea? For example, I would like to go in United States. Yeah, to reach.
Mission accomplished. You're here.
Yeah, I'm here, and to reach some people, and to do that I have a lot of ways to do that. I can call, I can send emails, I can go in the United States and go in directly in the company. I can contact every people are able to introduce me to others. There are a lot of ideas, a lot of ways. I can contact them by their blog, by mail, by email, by Facebook, by LinkedIn, by Twitter, and sometimes I have some difficulties to make priorities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you understand what I mean.
Yep.
And maybe I am sometimes like a crazy dog. Focus on my goal, but a crazy dog, a local crazy dog. Yeah, do you have some tips to improve that? I know I am not alone in this case, and it will help people.
Really good questions again. And well, first of all, I would say, look, if what you're doing to organize yourself is working, keep doing it, right? There's no need in radically changing anything. But if you know that it's really broken, then maybe you want to do kind of a reboot, right? But it's all about introducing small things at once, right? So are you familiar with Kaizen?
Yeah, I love this concept.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very big part of what we do at Simpleology. We know, historically speaking, that when you attempt to make radical change,
It doesn't work.
usually doesn't, right? Sometimes it does.
Yeah, for someone and sometimes.
Yeah, someone and sometimes. Maybe it's a dramatic event occurs, right? Or something huge happens, or you meet a great person who comes in and is able to change everything for you all of a sudden. But this is a rare case, very rare case. Most of the time you have to introduce change very slowly. So in terms of what you're talking about, the software answers that in this way. So I think you do have to course correct a little bit from time to time. It's very rare that you have a plan that is perfectly executed till the end. Now that Mike Tyson quote, there's a quote from, I believe it was von Clausewitz. So he was a famous military scholar from Austria, and he says, no battle plan survives the first point of contact with the enemy, right?
Yeah.
So when the enemy is there, you're not going to go, well, they're shooting at us, but we said we were supposed to go over here, even though you're going to get killed, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to say, oh, we can't really do that. So as entrepreneurs, things aren't usually that dire. You don't have to make changes that instantly, usually, right? In fact, if you do make changes that instantly, you're probably not going to go in the right place because your brain's going to be overloaded. So what we say is, look, create blocks of stuff to do. Get that block of stuff done. And then the next time you do start my day, now you can re-examine that, right? So if you spend your day constantly in indecision, wondering, what to do in this moment, you're never going to get anything done. So you have to short circuit that process of indecision, right? And you have to do it violently. And the system is a way of helping people to do that, all right?
Yeah, okay.
So we short circuit the indecision, and then we also prevent you from going from one thing to the next because you start each morning with a plan. Now, at the end of the day, you're going to look at that and you're going to go, some of that was the right thing to do, some of it was the wrong thing to do. But the more important thing that you got out of that is that you are building up the muscle, the habit muscle of taking action on things. It's very, very important to take decisive action on things. And that's actually more important than the specific actions themselves most of the time.
Yeah. I think the first step I learned to do that. I take a lot of actions and I take action quickly. So it's the first step. Yeah, you gave me some answers and I see more what I can do. I will take a specific example. For example, I decided the morning that today I will contact American people by LinkedIn. And it is my goal, it is the block. Should I have to finish for example, my goal is to contact this list. I built a list of people and I want to contact them. There are 300 people, 300 American people. And before to finish it, I have an idea. And I feel a lot of excitement because it is a new idea. And do I have to follow this one? Or do I have to finish the 300, for example?
I would say almost always finish that list, right? Because, we entrepreneurs, we get excited about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it is maybe my main challenge.
Yeah, but it's a blessing, but also a disease, right?
Yeah.
Simultaneously. So that's why I say you get that great idea, get in the habit of putting it in your Dreamcatcher, right? And then tomorrow, when you do start my day, you can remember how brilliant you were, right? And you go, yes, there's this great idea. Now the really cool thing about this is you're training your brain, to say, okay, I'm not forgetting this idea. I don't have to feel any anxiety about not taking action on it because I know tomorrow morning I'm going to do start my day, and
maybe this new action.
Maybe with this new action, maybe not. Maybe when I look at it and go, that was a great idea in the moment, but now when I compare this to what my long-term plan is, it's actually not the best thing to do, right? Now, we can talk about priorities as well because we have a methodology for handling that too. There's a very specific mathematical formula you can use to prioritize in the most efficient way.
I have a last question about organization. Do you believe in the power of intuition?
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I'm pretty sure it exists.
Yeah. How do you make the difference between, for example, you were not in my plan. You were not in my plan, and I felt maybe the intuition at late during the night to do that in Facebook.
Right.
And it works. It's funny because it took me maybe 30 minutes, and I discovered you, and I discovered just before to you another amazing CEO, and it was not in my plan, and maybe it was intuition that time.
Yeah.
but sometimes it is not.
Right.
Sometimes I would love that it was intuition,
Yeah.
but it is not. So how makes a difference? You understand what my question?
Yeah. Look, Malcolm Gladwell in the book Blink,
Yeah.
talks about he thinks that there is a scientific basis for intuition. That our gut instinct is actually, in an empirical sense, you can observe that it is more right than our conscious mind. I don't know if I buy that completely, right? I think in some cases it's probably true. In other cases, probably not. I know that there are cases, in my past where I thought I was following my gut, but I was doing something very wrong. Now, it feels slightly superstitious to me to say, well, you just have to learn how to trust your gut. But how? How does one do that? You know what I mean? Now, if I knew a scientific, observable, reliable way to do that, I would be able to teach you how to do that, and I would say, yeah, always follow intuition. So until we get to that point, I would say I just don't know. So I use a combination of things. All right. So I believe that that's true, and I would say maybe even more random things. I use meditation, for ideas, and sometimes amazing ideas just come to me through meditation. During meditation or during a dream, I'll wake up, I feel like the hand of God has reached in and pulled my soul out and said, "This is a great idea." You know what I mean? Right? Literally, you probably felt things like this before in your life. It doesn't happen every day, sadly, but it happens. Can you ignore that? I don't know. Maybe there's really something to that. Maybe there's something, in the ether that transmits these great ideas. But I know that if I am the crazy dog with those things, that I'm probably going to end up scattered all over the place. So I listen to it, but I organize myself properly so that when that happens, I put it down in the Dreamcatcher, and I know that when I do start my day, I will process that properly.
So maybe the difference it is that you are listening to this kind of voice, but you have this idea, but it's not. You are not impatient to use it and to do it now.
Yeah.
You can wait for the next day. That's right.
That's right. But there are exceptions. Okay. And some exceptions are, for example, when you're writing, okay, or when you're involved in any creative activity. Sometimes your creativity is like this freight train, and you build up this steam and it just gets faster and stronger, and you go with
flow.
It's a flow, yeah. There's that great book called Flow, it talks about that state, right? Or it's just that you're tuned into that frequency, if you will. It sounds a little airy-fairy, but there's probably something to that. You're getting this information somewhere. I don't think it's just the brain. I think we're probably going to discover that there's more to it. So it comes down to being able to train yourself to be able to manage states of awareness, in a sense, right? So as I get better and better at that over time, and I do this through physical discipline and through meditation and through consciously learning how to have control over my body through breathing, right? Through exercise, through meditation.
And how many meditation do you do? How often do you do?
I don't have a set rule. I use meditation on occasion when I suddenly remember that I need to do it, right? And I use it for many different things. Meditation and breathing can be used for, normalizing the body, bringing the body back to a state of homeostasis. There are certain, breathing patterns that you can use to do that. Meditation can be used to put yourself into a creative state. For example, earlier today, I needed a little bit of inspiration for something I was working on. We have a next phase of what we're doing with the company, and I had a whole bunch of different things that I had to juggle. And I said, look, we've got to decide with all of these things we have going on in the company, how am I going to communicate this to the customers in a way that's engaging? And I talked about this with my guys, and I said, I don't have an answer for this right now. Let me meditate on it and come back to you. I'd speak about this openly with my team, and then I meditated using a device. I can talk about the
Use
device.
Music?
This particular device is a combination of sound, of light, and of electrical stimulation on the earlobes, right?
Wow.
And
What is the name? I would like to try.
so that particular device, and I wouldn't necessarily endorse this device, or there are many, many ways you can do this, and you can get just sound files you can download on the internet. Binaural entrainment is the primary technology, right? And what that is it's you take a sound of one frequency and put it in the left ear, and the sound of another frequency and you put it in the right. And whatever the difference is of those two frequencies, your brain will be entrained. The dominant brainwave pattern that you will get will match that frequency. Now this is a scientifically observable thing. I've done this on myself with EEG. You can hook yourself up to an EEG, and you can get EEGs for very cheap now. By the way, when I first started experimenting with them, they were thousands of dollars. But because I'm a little crazy like that, I got it and started experimenting with it. But you can get it very cheap now, and monitor what your brainwave patterns are, and you will find that using these types of patterns will get you to specific brainwave frequencies. And different brainwave frequencies are associated with different states of mind. So, for example, the alpha state is a mildly relaxed state between 8 and 12 hertz. Okay, hertz is cycles per second, right? A beta state is what you and I are probably in right now, right? We're a slightly alert, awake state, right? And that's around 12 to 16, something like that. And then you've got a theta wave state, which is very interesting. Creativity, dreams, mystical experiences, that all happens in the theta wave state between 4 and 8 hertz.
Wow.
Delta wave is 0 to 4, and that's deep sleep. Dreamless sleep happens in those states. Now, I say all this, I'm parroting it because this is information that's out there. We don't really understand what's going on in the human brain with this stuff, but we do know that there are correlations between these frequencies. And the brainwave patterns are not simple. Part of your brain could be operating at one frequency and another part at another, so it's not a simple thing. But we do know that you can influence these things with sound, with light, and with electrical stimulation of the brain.
Wow, it's amazing.
Good stuff, right?
Yeah.
Explore, but proceed with caution, okay? Because this is all experimental stuff we're talking about here. And nobody knows what really goes on with these things, but I can tell you personally, anecdotally, that my own personal experimentation with that has helped me enormously in many, many ways.
Cool. It's very inspiring.
Cool.
I have a short question to ask you. What is your favorite book?
Oh, I don't have a single favorite book.
You have to choose one.
Just one?
Yeah. Two maximum.
Two maximum, yeah, you might have to do two. I don't know, one right now that really inspires me a lot, that I think about quite a bit. It's not really a book, it's more of an essay. It's Self-Reliance by Ralph Waldo Emerson.
Okay, I love him.
Yeah, really great. Fantastic essay. You know the essay?
No, I know just a lot of quotes from him, and I use one in my speeches. I don't know how to say that in English. The common point of successful people, of success, is self-confidence, and I do conferences on self-confidence because I believe that it is the first step to take action. And yeah, I love what he does, what he did.
Yeah, what he did. Yeah, but you should read the whole essay. I think you'll find it very, very inspiring. For sure. Again, I can't point to one book because I don't think there's any answer in the one book, and I don't think you ever get to a point where you have all the answers. But
what could be the three books?
3 books. Oh goodness. Even still, I'm not satisfied with the answer, right? But a second one might be, this is a very recent one.
Do you have children?
I don't, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have children you care about around you?
Really good answer. Yeah, I see where you're getting. Yeah. What would I recommend them? Is that what you're getting? Yeah.
If you can buy them 3 books, what could be?
Well, the second one that I was going to say was going to be The War of Art.
Oh, okay.
Not the art of war, but the war of art. Do you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. You've read the book?
No.
Stephen Pressfield. Really excellent living author. and he has written about the creative struggle, right? And entrepreneurs are going through a creative struggle as well. Even though, we're not all painters or musicians or writers, we're creating things.
Yeah.
And there is a struggle involved in that. And he helps you understand that struggle in a way. And he makes you feel like you've been heard. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel so alone anymore because I know that there are other people who are going through that struggle.
Cool. It's an amazing book. And the third? We can meditate.
Yeah, give me a moment to think about that.
Yeah. Maybe not focus only on the power of a book, but the book will help you the most, maybe at the beginning.
Okay, do you like science fiction?
Yes.
Science fiction, in my mind, is a very underrated genre, right? Science fiction generally does not get a lot of respect in literary circles, but it should. It should. Because if you look at some of the greatest books in history, many of them were science fiction, in fact. 1984, science fiction book, right? On the required reading list of almost any list of required reading books, right? I'm not saying that's an inspiring book, by the way. It's not an inspiring book, but it's one that maybe people should read, to learn about potential problems. But 2 science fiction books I would recommend.
Yeah.
Okay. There's many, but the 2 that I think are very important. One is one by Robert Heinlein called Stranger in a Strange Land.
Yeah.
And I won't even say why. I'll just tell people to read it and experience it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sinners.
Other one is Foundation by Isaac Asimov. Okay. In Foundation is not necessarily going to help you be more inspired as a person, but it will help you see your place in the cosmos, in a sense, and why that's important.
Cool. What is your favorite quote?
I have so many of those too. Maybe there's some great Goethe quotes. Be bold and mighty forces will come to your aid. It's a great quote.
Right. What is your favorite audiobook?
Ooh. Really interesting question. I could go into my Audible and find out how many times I've listened to certain books. I tell you what, honestly, On Self-Reliance, the essay by Ralph Waldo Emerson, I think I probably listened to that on Audible more than any other Audible book.
Cool.
Yeah.
What is your favorite or most impactful commitment to yourself?
Impactful to me or to the world?
Both.
Both. My most impactful commitment to myself is to take my life seriously, but not too seriously. To realize that if I want to be able to accomplish the things that I want to accomplish, I have to make certain sacrifices in my life. And I don't believe it's possible to be extremely successful and to abuse yourself in a lot of ways. You can get away with it for a while, but it will catch up to you. I give you an example. I knew a guy I was in the Army with, great man, heavy drinker as many people in the Army are. He just got out of the Mayo Clinic for liver cancer treatment, right? And that has prevented him from being able to contribute to the world in the way he would have been able to if he had taken better care of himself, right? But at the same time, life ends, right? So, you need to enjoy it. And if life is not about enjoyment, what's the purpose? So you need to be able to enjoy whatever you're doing. So if your thing that you're wanting to do that's this major accomplishment is something that you're not enjoying, you're not taking pleasure in, then maybe you should rethink that.
Yeah.
And in terms of commitment to the world, I would say, I want to take the influence I have with the world, technologically and, intellectually, I want to take that seriously too and do my best to tell the truth and to, impact the direction of the world in a way that will make it more likely that people will be happy and that will survive.
Ah, it's amazing. Yeah, I love that.
Cool.
Do you have life lessons do you want to share to youth?
To youth?
Yeah,
Yeah.
18 years old, for example.
So I'll imagine if I were younger and I were speaking to a younger version of myself.
Yeah, it's a great question.
So, first thing is you're gonna meet a lot of people who doubt you, okay?
Yeah.
Who try to destroy your will, who try to destroy your self-esteem, try to destroy your confidence, okay? And maybe they don't mean it, but sometimes, those things can have a huge impact on you. But we do this to each other as human beings all the time, and we take it very casually, We say things to people to get into their mind, because these are the games that we play with each other. And you just have to accept that is a game that humans play, right? But the game is won by you having a stronger sense of yourself than the sense that other people outside of you have. And if you can really, really understand that at a young age, it will give you tremendous advantage. And you can say that all you want. Okay, the only way you're really going to learn that is through difficulty. And maybe the best way to learn that when you're young, that I didn't go through when I was young, but I put myself through later, is through physical discipline. So sports are great, really great for that, if you have a good coach.
Yeah.
If you don't have a good coach, maybe not such a great experience, okay? So, but later on I got into MMA fighting, as a way of teaching that to myself. And you have somebody really for real punching you in the face, right? You have to keep your head together during that process. And you have to have confidence in yourself, because if you lose that for a second, you're for sure going to lose the fight, right? Now it's a metaphor. It's a wonderful metaphor for life. So I would tell children to learn that at a young age, but then to get involved in a practice that helps you not just learn that intellectually, but to also physically experience it over and over and over again until that's a part of you.
Cool. Thank you very much for this answer.
You're welcome.
So, Mark, I have a question for you. It is a very important question.
Yeah.
I would like you to help me to help others to do that. My question here is how to become a loser,
Right.
an average person, an unhappy person. Do you have some keys, advices to do that?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it advice, but if I were to engineer it, okay, so if you were to like you were saying earlier, take two kids, right, and you want to ensure that one is going to be a quote-unquote loser, okay?
Yeah.
First of all, I don't think there are any losers. I don't think there are any losers as such, you know what I mean? Being a loser is all in your mind,
Yeah.
right? So it's not that this person is this way, it's that they have become this way. They've chosen to be this way, or they've been influenced to be this way. So how would you influence someone in that way? First thing is I would start feeding them very unhealthy food.
Okay, unhealthy food.
Very
Do you have
unhealthy.
some examples? Because I have to learn.
Absolutely. Okay, so I would take them to McDonald's
McDonald's a lot?
every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
I can change with others?
Almost any fast food.
Fast food, okay.
Yeah, that has genetically modified, deep fried, unhealthy food.
That's perfect.
Grain fed meat.
Yeah.
For
Okay.
example, instead of grass fed meat. That kind of thing,
Mm.
with lots of chemical additives.
Okay.
The effects of which we have not yet studied. Okay, that's number one.
Mm.
Okay. Number two is to make sure that they do not exercise at all.
No exercise.
No exercise.
Okay, never.
Yeah. Give them an Xbox or a PlayStation.
Okay.
It's not inherently bad, but only make sure that the games that they play are ones that are really gruesome. Okay,
Yeah.
like killing zombies.
Okay.
Or going through really scary, ugly situations that put, horrible
Pictures, images in your mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then make sure that they're watching, a lot of shows
Other shows, yeah.
that put those images in their minds.
Mhm.
Okay. Also, make sure that they're watching things that make unhealthy behavior cool. So, make sure that they watch lots of advertisements for fast food.
Oh,
Okay.
to help them to
Yeah.
to want to go there.
That's right. And even more effective would be films where they show happy, healthy people, cool people, but eating unhealthy food. Okay, because by the way, this is what a lot of advertisers do. Okay, product
Yeah.
placement. It actually happens, right? They pay for this.
Yeah, to help you to create a connection in your brain.
Exactly.
Oh, it's great.
That's right. So let's make sure that not only are they doing these things, but they think that they're doing things that are healthy for them and making them cool.
Okay.
Right? So the best way to trick someone into doing something unhealthy is to make them think that it's actually healthy and cool.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. And then maybe
Yeah, because we are building the foundation of my ability to lose.
yes.
I would like to raise the top of losers.
Okay. You want a real loser, like a
Yeah.
uber loser.
Yeah. Do you have
Yeah.
something to? I will do that. I will do your advices.
Yeah.
I will have the foundation, and how can I raise the top?
I would.
I am a loser, so I would like to raise the top.
You're an overachieving loser. I see. Okay. So I would make sure that their parents, okay, were some of the only social interaction they had, and that their parents never spoke kindly to them, never expressed love to them, okay, and only reinforced the idea that they were never going to be, more than, a fat loser.
Okay.
And maybe the parents should smoke too, so that the kid can start smoking.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's great. So, if I am a parent, I have to smoke too, to help my children to become.
It might help, right? But whatever you can do to get them smoking, do that.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.